Hello, welcome to my channel and welcome to today's experiment because I am a total novice when it comes to painting with palette knives, and this painting was done entirely with a palette knife, a couple of palette knives actually, and so I hope you'll bear with me. I hope you get something from this. I certainly did. I feel that in future my paintings might consist of more palette knife areas, and I feel I might have to put in brushes as well. I don't think at this time I can do something that I'm entirely pleased with. There are bits of this painting that I like. I like the clouds. I think they turned out well and quite realistic. I like the trees. I was very pleased with those. I'm happy with the little glimpse of the ocean you can see and the rocks in the foreground. I'm not too keen on the road itself, and I do like the little patches of sunlight, but I'm not happy with the shadow. I could have done better with that, I feel. All in all, I feel it's a quite pleasant painting. I won't throw it out. I'll keep it since it's my first landscape with palette knives, and I'll learn from it and hopefully progress to better things. We'll see. I mixed French ultramarine blue with the white modelling paste and a little titanium white. The modelling paste you can get from Michael's. I think you can buy it at Walmart too. You can get it in a lot of different art stores. And it has sort of a rubbery texture when it dries. It's not like spackle. Someone suggested to me you could use spackle, but I think that's too brittle. And I'm not sure about that though, so don't take my word for it. Experiment. It's all an experiment as far as I'm concerned. And I like my sky. I put straight titanium white with a little paste in it for my clouds, and I thought they turned out quite well. I made the shadow on the cloud by adding alizarin crimson to the pool of blue, and got myself a sort of slight reddish grey, a warm grey let's call it, and I used that for the underneath shadow on the cloud, and I was very pleased with the way they turned out. I thought they looked very cloud-like. I added a tiny amount of the alizarin to the blue. I didn't want a very dark shadow. I wanted something that gave form to the cloud, but that wasn't too dark and heavy and stormy looking. This is a fairly bright day because I've got patches of sunshine in the painting, and I didn't want the heaviness of the clouds to outweigh that. I did not start off with my usual palette because I needed the space on the palette for my paste, and so I added colour one portion at a time. I think I used primary blue for the sea, but you can use any blue really. It's just a glimpse of the ocean, and I didn't put the paint on too thoroughly. There is still some white canvas showing through, and I think it makes the sea look as though it's glittering in the sunlight. That's my story, and I'm sticking to that. I added sap green and Naples yellow to my palette, and that was for the grasses and the sunshine. I find Naples yellow is a lovely colour for sunshine, for sand, for any sort of sunny touches you want in your painting. You almost don't have to mix it with anything. If I mix it with anything, it's usually titanium white to make it paler. but it's a nice colour just all on its own, straight out of the tube. I made a thumbnail sketch of the painting I wanted to do, and the finished work is nothing like the thumbnail. I got tired of struggling with the palette knives, and I left out the houses, the sailboats and the birds. I did manage to get the tree, the shrub and the path and the water in, and the sort of green sunlit hills. But that was it. I really don't know how to handle these palette knives. I'm just slathering the paint on in horizontal strips, you might say. And I have to watch more videos on how to use palette knives, I think. But I have an idea of where I want to get in this painting. So I'm just going to struggle away, struggle onward, and see what comes out at the end. I find, as I did with painting with brushes, that if you keep going, you sort of gradually develop these little steps and techniques, and that's what helps make the painting your own, your way of doing it, as well as the colors you choose. And I'm hoping that eventually I will find the right way to handle these palette knives. I like this stroke best when I'm putting it on horizontally, and find when I pull downwards I get some shapes that I don't really care for. I don't know why that is. It's a bit like buttering toast, I suppose. That's my technique at the moment. I'm trying to do a path in this section, or a lane, or a track, and it's all a bit too difficult. I'll just keep plugging away, and something will come out at the end. I may like it, I may not, I might like part of it, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to put a couple of trees in, one on each side, and I'm just splodging on foliage. It doesn't have to be too detailed, it just has to be green and shadowy and sunlit. You just have to have those three tonal values in there: highlight, midtone and shadow, and it will read foliage. I'm going to use Naples yellow to lay in some distant sunny areas across the fields. I can't make up my mind whether these are cliff tops or whether they are fields leading down to a lake or shoreline. You'll have to sort of figure that one out for yourself. Everybody's got their own ideas about what a painting is, and I'm going to leave it to you to decide. But in my head, I think these are distant cliff tops, maybe, or fields. I think I'm quite pleased with the way this tree is appearing. I find it hard to do narrow lines like for branches. I seem to pull off more paint than I put on when I try that, so there must be a technique I'm missing. But I quite like the effect of the tree on the left-hand side of the canvas. And in a minute you'll see that I give up on this shrubby thing and put a little tree, a smaller tree, on the right-hand side of the canvas too, which gives me shadow in the foreground. I don't make enough of that shadow in the foreground. I should have worked on that a little harder. But I do like to put shadow in the foreground because it sort of spotlights the distance and gives you something to move into in a painting, and I like that effect. On these rocks in the foreground, I have a mid-tone. I placed a little shadow on them, but I completely left out the highlight. And it's all three which give form to an object. And if you miss one of them, it sort of throws the others off and just doesn't look quite right. It looks okay, but it doesn't look as good as it could. Here's where I decide that another tree wouldn't do any harm, and I just blob the foliage on, and I use sap green, French ultramarine blue, and for the highlight on that I use the Naples yellow. And I did on the trunk, I used raw sienna with a little raw umber for shadow. The light, I think, is coming from the left hand side of the painting, and so everything on the right hand side of the trunks will be in shadow, and the trees themselves cast a shadow. And that's where I went a little bit off the rails, I think. I had a hard time making the scrubby, weedy roadside stuff with the palette knives. I haven't got that technique down. I could do sort of straight lines, but I couldn't do flowers or those things. I don't know how you do those things. I have to watch more videos, as I say, and maybe I'll learn. Maybe just a mixture of knives and brushes will do the trick for me. That may be the way I like to paint. I think the shadows turned out better than I hoped. It looks quite like a tree casting shadow, and I really didn't know what I was doing, to be absolutely honest. I didn't know whether to do horizontal lines, vertical lines. I wasn't really sure which way I was going there, but it turned out okay, I think. I think I'm happy with it. I quite like this painting. I think I like it 85% of the painting, and the rest I just have to let go. This is not, because of the texture of the paint, this is not a painting that I want to be bothered trying to scrape apart or sand off or any of those things. I'm just going to say, okay, well, 85% of this is okay. The rest, yeah, let it go. Okay, well, I'm okay with this painting. I think for the first time, a landscape with knives, it wasn't too bad, and I really enjoyed working with the knives and the thick paint. I've got to say, I love thick paint, and I hope you got something from it. Feel free to comment, Any tips will be very helpful. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. That helps the algorithm find me, and it helps my channel grow. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.